Hi, my name is Ron Weigelt, and many of you know me from 2008 when I ran against Dan Roach. But some of you don't, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm running for the state senate. I was born and raised in Western Washington, and I'm one of 6 children. And I went to college here in the state, and then after college I joined the Army, and I did 3 tours. 12 years in the military, and my first tour was with the 101st Airborne Division. Did that for almost 5 years, and I really got a lot out of that in terms of learning about leadership and how to treat people. I also did a tour in South Korea. That was during the first Gulf War. Spent almost a year and a half over there, and then came back to this area. I was stationed at Fort Lewis and eventually moved back into the area. I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm running. I'm going to talk about the 3 R's. And it's not reading, writing, and arithmetic, but I will talk a little bit about education. The 3 R's I want to talk about is first, responsibility. And I think it's responsibility that's lacking in a lot of the decisions that are made, and particularly made by the Republican Party. I think first and foremost, under the Washington State Constitution, we have a responsibility to educate our children. And I know there's a lot of talk right now about making cuts, and right in the bullseye is funding for education. And I personally feel that it's our responsibility, both as taxpayers and parents and grandparents, to ensure that our children have both a public education and a decent education to take on the challenge of the future, because the future is going to be involved with a global economy. And you cannot compete in a global economy if you are not well educated. I think in addition to a well-educated population and educational opportunities for our children, we need to be sure that our children are safe. So I think it's very important that we maintain our police force, our fire, all of this, basically those things that we count on in an emergency to bail us out, whether it's a flooding river or whether it's windstorms. We need that infrastructure there when we call on them. Secondly, in addition to our responsibilities, we need to be resourceful. So that means we can't just do the same old thing. And unfortunately, that is what happens a lot, and that's what I'm hearing a lot from the Republicans. They're sort of stuck in this groove, and they want to do the same old thing, and that's not going to work in the future. We need to be resourceful in how we resolve our problems. For example, we need jobs, and there are 3 areas where we could create jobs. One is we need to increase manufacturing, so therefore we can increase our exports. And we've exported a lot of jobs out of the country. What we need to be doing is exporting products, because we can manufacture products and export those. Secondly, we need to be able to take advantage of new technologies, and we've done some of that, but not nearly enough. That means that we have Sikorsky helicopter here in the area, we've got Boeing, and these same companies can retool to manufacture blades for creating energy out of wind, for example, or creating energy out of the tides. So we need to take advantage of these new technologies, and we can do that by funding incentives to get people to invest in those products, to invest in the ideas of those products, and then we become the base for manufacturing. So in addition to those 2 things, the other thing we can do is you offer incentives, and there's a lot of talk about this, offering incentives for small businesses and other businesses that hire. You want to encourage businesses to hire. Everybody's holding on to their purse strings, and credit is tight, so you need to offer some kind of incentive for people to hire. The third thing is respect. And I think that it's extremely important that we are respectful in how we deal with the other side of the aisle in terms of getting work done, working as a team, collaborating. I know, for example, I didn't mention it, but I was on the Buckley City Council for 5 years. I was elected in 2004, and I left there in 2009 when I moved to Bonnie Lake. Something I learned on the council was that you get a lot more done when you work with people and build coalitions than you do by being divisive and argumentative. A lot of the work we got done in the city of Buckley was based on the needs, of course, of the people that live there. For example, they like any community, have a lot of small businesses, and those small businesses struggle. So it was important to us to figure out how to support those small businesses. So we did several things, one of which was we improved Main Street. That was done during the time that I was in charge of the Street Sidewalks and Storm Drains Committee. And if you go down to downtown Buckley today, maybe on your way out, you'll notice that the streets are wider, the streets they're very well lit with modern lighting. You know, we just did a lot to try to make the place a lot more friendly, and the local businesses appreciated that. Similarly, in a small community, you do things that are not a lot different than what you would do as a senator. So you get constituents that call you up with a problem, and you respect their needs, and then you work on those needs. It's not always the big picture, big project that you got to worry about. You have to worry about the budget, and you have to worry about how to create jobs, but you also have to worry when that citizen calls you up and says, I've got a problem, and here it is. Well, I was on the Public Safety Committee. That happened, of course, during my whole tenure on the council, but I'll give you an example. I had some senior citizens that were being harassed by people on these little scooters. I don't know, you know those loud little scooters? So they contacted me and they wanted to know if something could be done about that. So what we did was we talked about it at the Public Safety Committee, and sure enough we created an ordinance that prohibited, they put limits on the scooters. It didn't say you can't use the scooter, but it said you can't race up and down the sidewalk, you can't go faster than 35 miles an hour. You know, put some restrictions on it, and that solved the problem. So I realized that, you know, you respect the citizens that you work for, you respect your colleagues, and you respect the people across the aisle, and by working together as a team, everybody achieves more. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but I want to tell you just a little bit about my background and some of the reasons why I'm running for state senate. I would appreciate your endorsement, and I would appreciate your support. I know that everybody can't contribute money, but campaigns are built on money. So I do have some envelopes in the back there. If you take one before you leave, there are other things you can do besides donate money. There are things you can help me doorbell, you can help me do some data entry. So there are other things you can do, and I really encourage you to get involved in a campaign, you know, and I encourage you to get involved in mine. So at this point, I'll take a few questions if anybody has any. Questions? Yeah.
It would be me, of course. Number one, you speak of respect.
Yeah.
There's no way I can ever respect a Republican again. That's not going to happen. Okay. But what is your view when you're talking about education? What is your view of a good education through 12th grade, let's say?
My view of a good education is that classroom sizes are reasonable.
But that's how to educate. I'm talking about what?
The outcome.
Right.
Well, somebody who can, like that gets back to the 3 R's that I said I would touch on, which is essentially reading, writing, and arithmetic. You have to have the basic fundamentals so that in the future you can help us solve the problems that we're going to be facing, whether it's going into engineering or into medicine or, you know, into any of the professions that we need people to go into.
What I was fishing for, and just to hear you say, was liberal arts education where you learn to think critically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's certainly important.
Yep, this is my feeling, yes. And as you noticed, I'm a shy retiring type.
Other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.